The Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar,
Excused.
Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Jones,
Absent.
Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lumberg, Marble,
Excused.
Martinez Jimenez, Merrifield, Moreno,
Excused.
Neville, Priola,
Excused.
Scott,
Excused. Oh, there he is.
Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zenzinger, Aguilar, Jones, Mr. President.
Here. With 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused, we have a quorum. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we waive Rule 1B so that a non-member may offer the Pledge of Allegiance.
The motion is to waive Rule 1B so that a non-member may lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and Rule 1B will be waived. Why don't you introduce him at the... Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, would you please welcome my neighbor, a homeschooler, Simon Moss, who will offer the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Fields.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I move that the reading of the Journal of Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017 be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Please add Senator Moreno to the roll. Committee reports.
May 3rd, 2017, the Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology has had on consideration, had a hearing on the following appointment, and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar. Confirm member of the Workers' Compensation Cost Containment Board for a term expiring December 13, 2019, Sarah Hayes of Lafayette, Colorado, representing executives with good risk management experience in the insurance industry and as a Democrat reappointed.
Senate Services.
Correctly printed. Senate Bill 305, correctly engrossed. Senate Joint Resolution 41, correctly re-engrossed. Senate Bill 207 and 299, correctly revised. House Bill 1139, 1252, 1274, 1279, 1302, and 1330, correctly revised. House Bill 1077, 1087, 1212, 1250, 1265, and 1291, correctly enrolled. Senate Bill 96, 103, 193, 198, 209, 254, 271, 291, 293, and Senate Joint Resolution 36.
Message from the House.
The House has postponed indefinitely Senate Bill 289. The bill is returned herewith.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
Motion is for the Senate to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. Consideration of resolutions. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1025?
House Joint Resolution 1025 by Representatives Williams and Salazar and Senators Hill and Moreno concerning the request that Governor Hickenlooper exercise his authority to grant clemency to Renee Lima Marin.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 1025 and request it be read at length.
Mr. Carpenter.
House Joint Resolution 1025 by Representatives Williams D. and Salazar and Senators Hill and Moreno concerning the request that Governor Hickenlooper exercise his authority to grant clemency to Renee Lima Marin. Whereas, in 2000, at the age of 19, Renee Lima Marin and an accomplice were convicted of burglary, aggravated robbery, and second-degree kidnapping and given consecutive sentences of 98 years. And whereas, while Lima Marin was young at the time of committing the crime and not fully aware of the severe consequences of his actions prior to arrest, he was rightfully convicted at trial. And whereas, despite the initial stiff sentence, the public defender who reviewed Lima Marin's case file after sentencing assured him that if he behaved while incarcerated, his sentence would be greatly reduced, never explaining that the reduced sentence was due to a rare clerical error. And whereas, while incarcerated, Lima Marin became a model inmate, joining a small Christian prayer group that focused on personal responsibility and service to others, and with a clean behavior record was granted parole in April 2008. And whereas, during the 5 years of his parole, Lima Marin maintained a spotless record, fulfilling all the terms of the parole without incident and overcoming the many obstacles the formerly incarcerated faced when re-entering society. And whereas the life Lima Marin created outside of prison was that of a model citizen, working his way from menial jobs to a skilled career in construction, marrying his longtime girlfriend, raising his adopted son and the son he and his wife had after marrying, purchasing a home, and serving in his local church as a youth group leader who ministered to young people in group homes. And whereas, in the intervening years between his initial incarceration and re-incarceration, Lima Marin strived to be a productive, tax-paying member of society rather than a tax burden on the state. And whereas, Lima Marin was notified about the error and told he must return to prison, he surrendered to authorities of his own volition rather than evade capture, a strong testament to his honesty and moral conviction. And whereas, by releasing Lima Marin early and then re-incarcerating him because of the clerical error, the state is enacting cruel and unusual punishment by separating him from his family and the life he built as a rehabilitated free citizen. And whereas, the criminal justice system claims to not only be about upholding justice, but about reforming offenders, which is exactly what Lima Marin's initial incarceration achieved, as evidenced by the life he led during incarceration and in the years following his release. And whereas, because of the rare nature of this administrative error, the Colorado General Assembly believes the equally rare granting of clemency authorized by the governor would eliminate a court decision that could set a problematic precedent for other cases in the future. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the Colorado General Assembly, urge Governor Hickenlooper to use his executive authority to grant clemency to Renee Lima Marin. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to Governor John Hickenlooper, members of Colorado's Executive Clemency Advisory Board, George Brockler, District Attorney of the 18th Judicial District, Honorable Carlos A. Samore, Jr., Chief Judge of the 18th District Court, Renee Lima Marin, and Lima Marin's wife, Jasmine Lima Marin.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President, and colleagues, please be seated. I'm proud to stand before you today and support House Joint Resolution 1025 because this is truly about what our correctional system should be. When people make mistakes, they are given another chance. They are given a chance at rehabilitation. They are given a chance at leading a productive life after their duly assigned term in the correction system. That's why this is so important. You may have seen media reports about Renee and the clerical error that resulted in him having to return willingly to prison. It's our duty as an elected body to stand for those and stand for what our correctional system should be. A second chance, a chance at rehabilitation. And so I hope that you will support House Joint Resolution 1025.
Senator Hill.
Thanks, Mr. President and colleagues. Just very briefly, this is one of our roles. This is one of our tasks. We have 3 equal branches of government. It is what helps protect and preserve our system, our notion that we keep a watch and an eye on each other. And this is a respectful request to honor in the case where an error has been made, to honor someone right now who can't really speak up for themselves, for himself, and for his family and for his children. We have an opportunity to say this is exactly what we would hope and expect in every single situation where someone enters the Department of Corrections, that there actually is a correction. There actually is that restoration. There is the restoration of relationship, the restoration of a healthy place in a community, and that is what's happened here, and now the state has gotten in the way. And we ask colleagues for you to join with us and to share in recognition that this is our task, this is a role, this is our duty to stand up for those and speak up for those who don't have a strong voice, and to ask now that this family be reunited and that the system has worked, it has been successful, and our community is better off when these relationships are restored. And we honor again our role within the whole process, and our role here today, and what we're asking for your support for is to request the governor to grant clemency and restoration in these relationships.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this resolution. I agree that this is a demonstration of how the criminal justice system can and should work, and that we should ask our governor to grant clemency in this case. Thank you.
Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, justice is very elusive. It's very hard to achieve. We try to do it with general rules of general application and say for this conduct, this is the punishment. But it is precisely to inject the ability to intervene in particular cases where justice will best be served that we have, and the clemency power, and we have vested that in our governor. It is precisely to tailor justice to individual cases in unusual circumstances where our one-size-fits-all approach, which we have of necessity to do, we have to make rules of general application, but we have to allow for exceptions where the case is unusual the conditions are unusual and justice would be served by a variation. And we call that variation clemency. That's why we do it. That's why it exists in law. And I urge you to pass this resolution so that the governor knows what the will of the people is. And I want to thank the sponsors for bringing this resolution forward.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I stand in strong support of this House Joint Resolution 1025, and I support the clemency authority that the governor has the right to exercise for our friend Renee. I believe in rehabilitation, and I also believe in redemption. And I don't think a person's past should rob them of their future. Please join us and vote yes on this amendment, on this resolution.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1025. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1025 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Kafalis, Senator Kagan, Senator Aguilar, Senator Williams, Senator Merrifield, Senator Kerr, Senator Fenberg, Senator Fields, Senator Jones, Senator Donovan, Senator John, Senator Lundberg, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Tate, Senator Crowder, Senator Court, Senator Todd, Senator Zenzinger. Please add the president. Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I know we've got a lot of work going on today. Thank you for your support of this resolution. If you do have a few minutes, Renee Lima Martin's family and friends are actually sitting over here in the corner. Certainly would appreciate the chance to go and introduce yourself and share your support of this resolution. We appreciate that, Mr. President and colleagues.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, please help me welcome them to the chamber.
Colleagues, why don't we go into a brief recess to greet our guests? Senate will come back to order. Introduction of bills. Mr. Carpenter.
Senate Bill 306 by Senator Lambert and Representative Hamner concerning a direct transfer of money from the high cost support mechanism to broadband deployment grant applicants with the first proposed broadband deployment projects that have been approved by the Broadband Deployment Board for a grant award and in connection therewith requiring segregation of funds for basic voice service from funds for broadband deployment.
Appropriations. Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read the titles to all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar.
House Bill 1279 by Representative Garnett and Senators Tate and Guzman concerning the requirement that a unit owners association obtain approval through a vote of unit owners before filing a construction defect action. House Bill 1139 by Representative Landgraf and Michelson Janae and Senators Martinez, Huminick, and Gonzalez concerning improving Medicaid client protections through effective enforcement of Medicaid provider requirements. House Bill 1274 by Representative Janal and Senator Baumgardner concerning the limited circumstances under which a veterinarian may use a compounded pharmaceutical drug for the treatment of an animal patient that is a food animal. House Bill 1252 by Representative Janal and Senator Hill concerning the collection of court costs from persons who are convicted of criminal offenses. House Bill 1330 by Representative Lee and West and Senators Fields and Cook concerning disallowing the use of certain convictions for the purpose of adjudicating a person an habitual criminal. House Bill 1302 by Representative Lee and Willett and Senators Gardner and Fields concerning matters related to sexually explicit images of a juvenile in connection therewith, requiring a post-enactment review of the implementation of this act.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move all of the bills on the third reading of bills final passage consent calendar consisting of House Bills 1279, 1139, 1274, 1252, 1330, and 1302.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? Senator Cort.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, do you realize that one of the issues that has been a hugely contentious one for years and years in this body is on the consent calendar? I want to congratulate the sponsors on the construction defects bill for having figured out how to get us here. And I want to congratulate all 100 of us for acknowledging that we could find a way to do this and address the needs of the people. Thank you and congratulations to everybody.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to speak about House Bill 1279, and I do want to kind of emphasize to the body here a couple points that have been made throughout the legislative process, and that is how much hard work went into the bill, and also the feeling that this bill is a step in the right direction. And I was in the chair yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to make a comment in the bill, so I apologize. I'm here today doing it now versus second reading. To the first point about the hard work, I want to thank my colleagues in the House from Firestone, Denver, and Centennial, and my colleagues in the Senate from El Paso County and Denver. There are a lot of things in this bill that had to be negotiated. What a construction defect action is, a provision for having meetings between the parties, a provision for providing disclosures to the parties, provisions as to what's required to be in those disclosures, how communications happen between the parties after this claim has been initiated, what kind of timeline there is for people to make decisions on pursuing a claim, who can vote on a claim, who's eligible to vote, and the voting methodology. Those are a lot of items. Those are a lot of moving parts. And each one of those had to be negotiated separately. And I want to congratulate my colleagues for making that happen. Secondly, we always have heard through this legislative process that this is a step in the right direction. And it's an important step in the right direction. First, it acknowledges we have a problem. And secondly, this is a positive corrective measure in addressing the problem we have when it comes to construction litigation issues. One thing interesting about this bill is that it doesn't really get into the law. It's an add-on to the law. Our law right now is a very complicated, it's kind of like my colleagues from Lakewood, his rubber band ball there. We have issues of joint and several liability, which are incredibly complicated and have created collateral damage on the availability of condominiums. We have unusual applications of strict liability when it comes to certain aspects of how construction is performed. We have weird provisions of liability where one party is responsible for following another party's directions, but then it's against the law for them not to follow them. Those are all idiosyncrasies in the law that are very complicated, and we're not addressing any of those. What we are addressing is how people access that law and how claims are initiated, and thus hopefully making sure claims that move forward from an HOA are valid and are made with a strong level of informed consent. That's what this bill is about. It's an important step in the right direction. I congratulate all my colleagues for their hard work and urge an aye vote on this bill, which I think may happen some moments from now. Thank you for your time.
Is there any further discussion on any of the bills? Senator Gardner or Senator Fields?
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I just want to bring your attention to House Bill 1330. This is a pretty big deal. I've been working on this bill for 2 years to address sexting. And this is something that many of our teens do, and what happens when you commit that kind of act, you are looking at a felony for our young kids. It could be a felony 1, 2, 3, or 4. And when you're convicted as a felony for this type of crime, it can also require that you have to register as a sex offender for the rest of your life. A lot of times our teens aren't aware of the consequences that are associated with this act. And what this bill does, it takes that away from our prosecution, our DAs, from using that criminal code for sexting. Now it's going to be a non-felony crime. It's going to include restorative justice, it's going to include training, and it's going to include some diversion program so that we're not creating hardships with our young people just for doing something that's probably inappropriate. So I just want to bring your attention to 1330. As a state, no longer will our juveniles be facing a felony for sexting.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, members, and I appreciate your attention. Just briefly, it is amazing to me that House Bill 1330 is on the consent calendar this morning. When I was in the House, and it was not my last session, it was probably 2 sessions before, stakeholders came to me and said, we need to do something about the problem of sexting. As my colleague from Aurora has said, that right now it's a felony, and it leaves district attorneys with little latitude. They either prosecute it or they do nothing. But as it turns out, with so many problems that we address, the stakeholders had differing views. I don't want to say differing interests, because I think everybody's interest was the same, to do what was right for Colorado's young people, but differing views about what was best. As it turns out, and I won't speak for the senator from Aurora, but this year I did very little work in comparison to Representatives Lee and Willett, who spent hours and hours to send us a bill that works and finds its way to the consent calendar. So thank you to them, and my respect to this process, which doesn't work always great, but in this case, over the course of time, has worked in a way that I think everyone can be proud of, and we ask for your aye vote.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have a correction. The bill was HB 1302. Thank you.
Senator Martinez-Humenick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I would also urge an aye vote on House Bill 1279. This is a topic that we have been working on a long time, and it's also something that will help each one of our communities as they find ways to work with developers on attainable housing for our citizens. So I'd urge an aye vote on 1279.
Is there any further discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion is for the adoption of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on 1274.
Majority Leader will be recorded as a no vote on 1274. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1274.
Senator Neville will be recorded as a no vote on 1274. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1274.
Senator Smallwood will be recorded as a no vote on 1274. Any further no votes on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1279 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Kafalas, Senator Crowder, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Gardner, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Lambert, Senator Lundberg, Senator Coram, Senator Crowder, I think I got you, Senator Neville, Senator Baumgardner, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Aguilar, Senator Moreno, Senator Kagan, Senator Court, Senator Fenberg, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Cook, Senator Scott, Senator Smallwood, Senator Fields, was your hand up? Senator John, Senator Fields, Senator Kerr. Co-sponsors on 1279. Please add the President. With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1139 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Moreno, Senator Kerr, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Aguilar, with 30 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1274 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Crowder. With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1252 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator John. With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1330 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Moreno, Senator Tate. With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1302 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator John, Senator Merrifield, Senator Aguilar, Senator Court, Senator Kafalas, Senator Zenzinger, Minority Leader Guzman, Senator Kerr, Senator Todd, Senator Garcia, Senator Moreno, Senator Crowder, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Tate, Senator Williams, Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask that my name be added as a co-sponsor to House Bill 1330.
1330. Please add Senator Kagan as a co-sponsor on House Bill 1330. Third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of House Bill 1113.
House Bill 1113 by Representatives Willett and Arndt and Senator Scott concerning electronic participation in committee meetings during the legislative interim.
Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1113 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1113? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1113. Are there any no votes? Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Lambert, Senator Donovan, Senator Cook, Senator Neville, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Lundberg, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Tate, Senator Smallwood, Senator Aguilar, with 20 ayes, 13 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused. House Bill Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on 1113.
Please record Senator Jones as a no vote on 1113. With 19 ayes, 14 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Bill 1113 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Kerr. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for General Order, second reading of bills consent calendar.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself to the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order, second reading of bills consent calendar, and Senator Cook will take the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the titles to the bills on the second reading of order consent calendar?
House Bill 1293 by Representative Meldon and Senator Todd concerning the ability of a local government official to serve on a nonprofit entity's board of directors. Senate Bill 302 by Senator Quorum and Representatives Gatlin and McLaughlin concerning a clarification of the exemption from property tax of silvicultural equipment.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1293 on second reading and ask for an aye vote.
Hey, Senator Todd, this is a consent calendar. Majority Leader Holbert.
That's what I thought.
Is there a calendar? I forgot my... Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move both of the bills on second reading of bills consent calendar consisting of House Bill 1293 and the Local Government Committee Report and Senate Bill 302.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of all the reports on the bills. On the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion for the body is the adoption of the bills calendar on general order second reading of bills. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the second reading of bills is adopted. Senate Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Uh-oh. Senate will come back to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the title or the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole Blaze legal reports had on consideration the following tax bills being the second reading thereof makes the following recommendation: one, Senate Bill 302 passed the second read order and gross place on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1293 is amended, passed the second read order, revised place on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion before the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 302 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1293 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General Order, second reading of bills. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general order, second reading of bills.
Motion for the body is to resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills calendar. Senator Cook will take the chair.
You go, I'll move it and you can tell them what it does and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will come to order. And the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1317?
House Bill 1317 by Representative Escar and Hansen and Senator Baumgartner and Cavallis concerning the authority of the State Historical Society to dispose of real property located in the former Lowry Air Force Base.
Senator Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1317. This bill came out of Capital Development Committee. Ask for an aye vote.
Senator Cavallis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I also ask for an aye vote on House Bill 1317. As stated, it grants authority for the Colorado Historical Society to dispose of this property, and the proceeds of that property would be used for controlled maintenance of other state historical society properties around the state. It's a good bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1317? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1317. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and House Bill 1317 is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to... Oh, that's it. And there ain't no more. Senate, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Okay, that's 3. My horse off the podium. I need to hold my... Senate will come back to order. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report that on consideration the following tax bills being the second reading thereof makes the following recommendations. Number 1, House Bill 1317 passed the second read order, revised place calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion before us is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1317 passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of House amendments to Senate bills. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 216?
Senate Bill 216 by Senator Gardner and Representatives Becker, Kay, and Lontine concerning continuation of the regulation of collection agencies under the Colorado Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations of the 2016 Census Report of the Department of Regulatory Agencies and making an appropriation.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to SB 216.
Any brief explanation on House amendments? Senator Gardner.
Thank you. Members, this is the sunset of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You'll recall there was extensive stakeholder participation. When it got to the House, there was a request from bankers and mortgage lenders for a slight revision. That was what it is, and all of the stakeholders are good with it. I am good with it. House sponsors are good with it, and we ask for your concurrence.
Is there any discussion? The motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 216. Are there any no votes on concurrence? Senator Baumgardner. With 32 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 2 excused. That motion is adopted. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 216.
The motion is for the readoption of Senate Bill 216. Are there any no votes? Senator Baumgardner. With 32 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 2 excused. Senate Bill 216 is readopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of the Senate Bill 111?
Senate Bill 111 by Senator Neville and Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Gray concerning measures to address medical marijuana inventory shortfalls.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over Senate Bill 111 until Friday, May 5th.
Motion is to lay over Senate Bill 111 until Friday, May 5th. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that will be laid over. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of Senate Bill 74?
Senate Bill 74 by Senator Garcia and Representative Escar concerning the creation of a pilot program in certain areas of the state experiencing high levels of opioid addiction to award grants to increase access to addiction treatment in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over Senate Bill 74 until Friday, May 5th.
Motion is to lay over Senate Bill 74 until Friday, May 5th. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that will be laid over. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of Senate Bill 126.
Senate Bill 126 by Senators Guzman and Gardner and Representatives Hamner and Willett concerning the Colorado Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 126.
And a brief explanation of House amendments, sir.
Thank you. Members, this was just a clarification amendment concerning the public defender participant. There was a reference in the bill as it came out of the Senate that didn't quite conform with the sort of the practice and position in the criminal defense bar. So it was just to clarify who that participant was and from the pool from which that person would be taken. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 126. Are there any no votes on concurrence? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the Senate concurs with House amendments to Senate Bill 126. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 126.
The motion is for the readoption of Senate Bill 126. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 126 is readopted. Co-sponsors. Committee reports, Mr. Carpenter.
May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration of Mayor's Committee records following Senate Bill 305, be amended as follows: as amended, be referred to Committee on Appropriations. A favorable recommendation May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1322 be referred to committee of the whole. A favorable recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1329 be amended as follows. As so amended, be referred to Committee on Appropriations. A favorable recommendation. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1276 be amended as follows. And as so amended, be referred to Committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation. May 3rd, 2017, the Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy has had under consideration, had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Groundwater Commission for terms expiring May 1st, 2020. Stephen Dale Kramer of Bethune, Colorado, a resident agriculturist from the Northern High Plains Basin, reappointed for terms expiring May 1st, 2021. Mark Christopher Arnish of Kennisburg, Colorado, to serve as a resident agriculturist from the Lost Creek Basin, reappointed. Gregory Larson of Paxton, Colorado, a resident agriculturist from the Northern High Plains Basin, reappointed. Scott W. Teitmeyer of Grover, Colorado, to serve as resident agriculturist from the Upper Big Sandy Basin, reappointed. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1339 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1254 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1022 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1307 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1318 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1309 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1268 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1237 be postponed indefinitely. May 3rd, 2017, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs after consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. House Bill 1286 be postponed indefinitely.
Consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read all of the appointments on the governor's appointments consent calendar.
Members of the State Housing Board for terms expiring January 31st, 2021. Eric Estrada of Louisville, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 2nd Congressional District, appointed. Jacqueline Reynolds of Sterling, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 4th Congressional District, reappointed. Chad E. Wright of Colorado Springs, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 5th Congressional District, reappointed. Members of the Advisory Committee on Governmental Accounting, effective May 18, 2017, for terms expiring May 18, 2021. Gina Marie Lanier of Aurora, Colorado, a finance officer representing school and junior college districts, appointed. Also, Joanne Goslink of Brush, Colorado, a finance officer representing city and town government, reappointed. Neil Andrew Copland of Parker, Colorado, a finance officer representing county government, reappointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move all of the appointments listed on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar, consisting of members of the the State Housing Board, members of the Advisory Committee on Governmental Accounting. Thank you.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the adoption of all the governor's appointments listed on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the appointments are confirmed. The following persons have been appointed to the State Housing Board: Eric Estrada, Jacqueline Reynolds, Chad E. Wright, and to the Advisory Committee on Governmental Accounting, Gina Marie Lanier, Alta Joanne Goslink, and Neil Andrew Copeland. Being a senatorial 5. Senate will come back to order. Please add Senator Priola to the roll. I don't have the number on that resolution. 1026.
It's a House joint resolution, it just came over. So you have House joint resolution. It's here. No?
Too many complications. I wish I could because.
We'll get it next Thursday, so don't worry.
Yeah, right. Somewhere there. There's always tomorrow, right? No, there isn't.
And the guests are on their way.
See if she's a co-sponsor.
I'm not going to have them read it at length unless, do we need time? I was just going to have them read it
No,
too.
we don't need to buy time. I just want to wait.
To line
I don't
7.
want to be disrespectful and do it before they get here.
Okay.
You're already a co-sponsor. Yep, no problem. Yes.
Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Revisor of Statutes House Bill 1351, amended as printed in the House Journal May 3rd, 2017. The House has adopted and transmits herewith House Joint Resolution 1026 as printed in House Journal May 4th, 2017.
Message from the Revisor.
We herewith transmit, without comment as amended, House Bill 1351.
And it looks like your guests are here. I'm guessing that's them.
Introduction to resolutions. Mr. Carpenter.
House Joint Resolution 1026 by Representative Whiston Lee and Senator Fields concerning designating April 2017 as Second Chance Month.
Senator Fields.
Mr. President, I move Resolution 1026 and ask that it be read at length to page 3, line 7.
Mr. Carpenter.
House Joint Resolution 1026 by Representatives Wist and Lee and Senator Fields concerning designating April 2017 as Second Chance Month. Whereas every person is endowed with human dignity, and whereas redemption and second chances are American values, and whereas an estimated 65 million American citizens have a criminal record, and whereas 86,000 people are currently incarcerated or under the supervision of the Colorado Department of Corrections, and data shows that approximately 95% of those in state prison will be released to their communities. And whereas individuals with a criminal record often face a second prison of significant barriers, also known as collateral consequences. And whereas many of these collateral consequences fail to provide any proven public safety benefit, are mandatory, and take effect automatically, regardless of the seriousness of the offense, the time passed since the offense, or the individual's efforts to make amends and earn back the public's trust. And whereas The inability to find gainful employment and other collateral consequences of conviction inhibit the economic mobility of people with a criminal history, which negatively impacts the well-being of their children and families for generations. And whereas collateral consequences contribute to recidivism, increased victimization, decreased public safety, and result in lost economic output for Colorado and the United States. And whereas BKB Limited, Born Fit, Denver Scrap Metal Recycling, Hallucination Sports, Heat Incorporated, Lifted from the Rut, the Hornbuckle Foundation, Prison Fellowship, Second Chances Denver, the Shores Treatment and Recovery, Tribe Recovery Services, and Youth for Christ sponsored the annual Second Chances 5K on Saturday, April 8, 2017, in Denver, Colorado, in order to raise awareness of the obstacles that people with a criminal record face and to provide opportunities for members of the community to run or walk in honor of second chances. And whereas April 21st, 2012 is the anniversary of the death of Charles Colson, who used his second chance following his incarceration for a Watergate-related crime to found Prison Fellowship, the nation's largest Christian nonprofit serving prisoners and their families. And whereas the designation of April as Second Chance Month can increase public awareness about the need for closure for those with a criminal record and about opportunities to provide second chances, now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate, concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, designate April 2017 as Second Chance Month, honor the work of communities, governmental institutions, nonprofits, congregations, employers, and individuals in removing unnecessary legal and societal barriers that prevent individuals with a criminal record from becoming productive members of society.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members, please be seated. Each person in our society has been given a God-given right for dignity and potential. However, 1 in 4 American adults has a criminal record, which limits access to education, jobs, housing, and other necessary things for them to fulfill a productive life in society. Currently, in the state of Colorado, we have 86,000 individuals who are incarcerated or under supervision by the Colorado Department of Correction, and approximately 95% of those will be released back into their community. These people, along with all those released into Colorado community, deserve to have a promising future. And once you have been declared a felon, sometimes it's not easy to transition back into society as it relates to getting access to some of the things that I've mentioned: housing, jobs, employment, those kinds of things. Basically, this resolution is designating April as the Second Chance Month, because I believe everyone deserves a second chance, because I do believe in redemption. This resolution embodies the belief that those of us with a past can transform their lives, and they can rise above their circumstances. They have repaid their debt to society, and we can help them contribute to the restoration of our community. Members, I am so proud of the work that we have done this year in the Judiciary Committee, because we have taken second chances as it relates to criminal justice reform. Just this week, we passed legislation to address the expungement records of our teenagers and our juveniles, so there's not going to be a long waiting period. We also passed a bill to help look at how we can help transition folks from prison into society by wrapping around services to help them be successful. So I believe that this body is doing some good work to reform criminal justice and to make sure that these folks can live a very productive life in our society and world. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Joint Resolution 1026? Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come down in support of this resolution. I was not aware it was coming, but I listened carefully, and I believe that we do need to recognize that there is redemption. Indeed, it's something we all need from time to time, and I noted that Chuck Colson was mentioned in the resolution. I had the privilege of meeting with him not too long after he was released from prison and was actively engaged in the ministry that he went on to as the resolution said, the largest effort in the nation, and I know even internationally they've had quite an effect. And I believe it is appropriate that we, from time to time, stop and look at what we're doing and understand that we need to address not only the punishment, but the restitution of both victim and the perpetrator when that is possible. And I believe that these efforts that are recognized here are really far and beyond what we can do as a government. And indeed, that is a key component to a free society, is not just what we do in this building, but what everybody else as citizens do in their role. And this resolution strikes me as a good reminder of what we need within the, let's say outside of the criminal justice system, but the mechanisms to restore the citizens that have paid their debt to society and should, if it's working right, take a proper role as law-abiding citizens. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I stand in support of House Joint Resolution 1026. We talk a lot about respect, we talk a lot about responsibility, and we talk a lot about human dignity. Sometimes we're not on always the same page when we talk about these things. But this is about respect, responsibility, and human dignity, and creating a balance within our judiciary system, and actually taking a look. And, you know, some people don't like to hear something regarding the Bible or whatever else, but, oh well, too bad. What I will say is that the Bible tells us to harden not our hearts. And this resolution is basically within context of that, to make sure that we are creating that ability for people to be respected, to be responsible again, and to actually be treated with human dignity. So I support House Joint Resolution 1026.
Is there any further discussion on House Joint Resolution 1026? The motion before the body is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1026. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, House Joint Resolution 1026 is adopted. Senator Fields.
Mr. President, I ask that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Without objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Members, we have some special guests here today, and they're from a great organization. It's called Prison Fellowship, and they do some wonderful work to help transition those from incarceration back into society. And with your permission, Mr. President, I'd like to have them stand and offer their names and their titles.
Please do, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on behalf of Prison Fellowship, I'd like to introduce Mary Ellen. Will you please stand? And George, thank you for your work. Also, I have the Youth for Christ Juvenile Justice Ministry person here. Doesn't have a name, but if you're here, please stand. And then Thomas Hernandez, who is the co-founder of Hornbuckle Foundation. If you could please stand and raise your hand. And also Claire Ross of the Second Chance Denver organization, if she could still please stand. And then all the members who are here for this resolution, could you please stand? Thank you, members. Let's welcome them.
Thank you, Senator. And welcome to the Senate. Colleagues, we are on announcements. Not all at once. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. In State Affairs last night, we laid over House Bill 1192. That will be added to the calendar, first on the calendar today in State Affairs.
Sit that down there. Colleagues, very special day today, of course. May the 4th be with you. And from the Merrifield brothers back there, this little signed picture that's sitting on the desk up here, that's Peter Mayhew, signed. He's the actor that will wear the Chewbacca costume. So for you to look at after we adjourn here, or recess. Any other announcements? Thank you, gentlemen, for that, by the way. Any announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we may have some bills to read over, House bills to read over this afternoon. You would not need to be here. Those who will be serving on Senate Finance and Senate State Affairs, God bless you. Yes, Godspeed. We will see you at the end of your journey. There are some reassignments on committees. The minority leader and I have signed some letters, but we can't have members serving on 2 committees meeting at the same time. But for those of you in State Affairs and Finance, we are grateful for your efforts today. Mr. President, I move the Senate recess until 1:30 p.m. Let me withdraw that motion and allow the good senator from Aurora to speak.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll be brief. The participants of the Cancer Caucus are holding the second Every Patient Has a Story presentation. There are displays downstairs on the first floor from ASCAN, CU Cancer Center, Rocky Mountain Cancer Centers, National Jewish Health, Colorado Cancer Research Programs, Bristol Myers Squibb, Pfizer, Komen, and UC Health. Please stop by the North Foyer. The presentations will be on display through today and tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, members of Finance, we've got a few bills to get taken care of today. We will meet at 10:30 sharp. Be ready to roll.
Mr. Majority Leader.
I move the Senate recess until 1:30 p.m. today.
Motion is for the Senate to recess until 1:30 p.m. today. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. We will be in recess till 1:30 p.m. today.